Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Morning, everybody. We're going to start off with this photo sent to me by one of my subscribers named Jennifer. It is a picture she took in the Denali National Park of Alaska. Apparently, it was just last week. And there had been snowstorms over the peaks, and she said that the uniquely Alaskan name for early snows on the mountaintop is termination dust. How cool is that? All right, let's move on. All right, you guys, just a reminder as well that my Patreon is going to be opening up on October 2nd. We're going to post videos there once a week. The videos are going to cover the vacation I just took. They're going to cover, the new house. I'm going to need some decorating tips for sure. All the stuff going on behind the scenes. If you're interested, we're going to just do something completely different from the royal family, although we will be having some lives as well on Patreon. So I hope you guys will join me and sign up. It will be open for sign up starting on the 1st, and the first video will pop up on the 2nd. We're starting off this morning with Princess Beatrice, who attended the 8th annual Lady Garden Foundation's luncheon. And doesn't she look absolutely gorgeous? All right, moving on. I remember I asked you guys about the money for Charles. Well, apparently the coins have now been unveiled ahead of the circulation that they'll be doing next year. I actually think that's a really good likeness of him. Don't you guys think so? I do. Moving on. All right, Princess Anne, once again out in the news. She went to Edinburgh to tour retail and leisure district. And yes, it was revealed she was the one who informed people of the Queen's death. We're going to touch on that in just a minute as well. She was at St. James Quarter. She unveiled a fashion stone during the tour. She looked absolutely lovely, as she always does. Here she is looking at a model that they made of the quarter. And then here she is meeting the managing director of development for the area. And I think the stone that she unveiled, look at that. Very nice. Beautiful. Really. Yes. No wonder they call her the hardest working royal. Now going back to the other story that came out, that Anne and Charles were with the Queen when she died. I told you guys the birth certificate came out. Here come the conspiracy theories. People are like, yes, she had cancer because Lady C said so. Well, Lady C doesn't have access to the Queen's medical records. Nobody does. But as I'd already stated, she was 96 years old. People are like, you don't die from old age. Actually, you can die from old age because your organs fail. Nobody needs to know a specific reason. And the thing that kind of, for me, it's kind of creepy crawly is, why do you need the specific reason? She was 96. She died. That's it. There's no conspiracy. Why do you need the exact organ that failed first? Why don't you reflect on that for a second? My goodness. All right, let's move on now to that story I told you about where George supposedly told his classmates to watch out because my dad's going to be king one day. Remember that? George's family said that never happened. And then the Sussex squad went nutso with the threats and the pictures of the guns. And, I'm going to teach people how to make a guillotine and, just crazy. Well, Katie Nichols has decided to respond. She is now claiming that the entire thing was taken out of context in an unpleasant way. Taken out of context? You wrote it in a book. That's not taken out of context. And now, come to find out he never said it, doesn't make you look good. Yeah, I think the book is going to be a big flop. And just as a reminder, you guys may not remember that back in 2019, GMA TV host Laura Spencer mocked Prince George, who was 6 years old, for taking ballet. And she was called out making boys dance to trend. Hundreds of male dancers You guys know what I'm trying to say. Congregated, blah, 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 in New York Times Square to support him, and she ended up having to apologize. Katie Nichols, you need to apologize, girl. All right, here we go. Harry and Meghan supposedly are trying to stall Netflix because they want to go through their love story or their fly on the wall documentary. Remember the one they said they weren't doing, that was a lie? And they want to cut out anything that could be negative against Charles and the crown. And we all know the reason for this, because they've crapped all over Charles. The one ally they had in the family, the Queen, is now deceased. They want those titles for their kids, and Charles will not convey the titles until he finds out what the heck it is that they're doing. Personally, I think that's a really, really smart thing to do. Wait till the book comes out and see what they've said about your wife. Wait till Netflix comes out so you can see what other, their truth bombs that they're going to throw at you. You know what I mean? And in the meantime, it looks like, according to reports, the two of them are really sweating it out now. The reports coming out say that Harry and Meghan want to edit the Netflix series, which will delay its release until later in 2023 because they're trying to downplay what they said about King and Camilla and William and Catherine. And a Hollywood industry source said that there were a lot of conversations happening and they want to stall, which we already heard, and they want to hold it back. And somebody else said they're wondering if the show could even be dead in the water at this point. Do they just want to shelve it? And a Netflix insider is saying that they're keen to have the show ready to stream in December. And there's a lot of pressure on Ted Sarandos, who is the CEO of Netflix, and who has the relationship with Harry and Meghan, to get the show finished. And, this is also after Harry's last minute bid to tone down his autobiography, and for Meghan to tone down, her podcasts. Yeah. Now, all of this falls into the blind item that just came out. We know from the last 2 years that the blind items are pretty spot on. And what it's saying is that many of the charity scenes that were shot prior to the Queen's death make the royal look bad. So there needs to be changes or reshoots with charities here in the United States. And the consensus is that there will be 2 seasons. One will have the charity sporting games, of which nothing controversial is in them, and it is hoped that they will then get the titles, and then they can release the dirt in the second season to coincide with the new release date of the book. So if I were Charles, I would be holding on to those titles with both hands. And of course, Harry and Meghan want to be present for the coronation. They want their pictures taken with the royals. They want to be seen, milling about with the other guests, with the important guests. Would they sit with the family during the coronation? No, I don't think they would. I think Charles is smart enough. I think Charles would, sit them to the side, kind of like at the Platinum Jubilee. They don't take the attention. And in the meantime, Harry's continuing on with his lawsuit. But let's be honest, they want those kids to have the titles. And it's my understanding that if the kids get the titles, then they automatically get the IPP security, and then he can drop the lawsuit. That may be another reason why Charles is holding those titles back. Possibly. All right, one other bit of information that came up. Do you remember when Harry and Meghan went to One Young World and they were taped by Netflix? I showed you very clearly the cameras, and Meghan stood up and gave a 3 or 4 minute speech where she referenced herself 50 some odd times, and Harry sat there looking all miserable and upset, and he had the marks on the side of his face that nobody could explain. You guys remember that? Well, apparently they did a roundtable discussion about gender equality. Now, I would really like to know what she has to bring to the table, since the entire platform that she's gotten was gotten by marrying a man. Could somebody please explain that to me? One Young World didn't pick her. Her manager weaseled her in to One Young World. Okay? I'm sure it was a very boring conversation because she really doesn't have anything, in my personal opinion, to bring to the table. All right, moving on. Here's something she could have brought to the table: examples of racism. Because when you have a $32 million wedding and you don't invite any of the people in this photo, yeah. All right, I just have to throw this in. Apparently, Meghan was in a movie that was never released where she snorts cocaine and gropes her boobs. So I'm pretty sure now that she is who she is, somebody's going to dig up that movie and release it. Way to go. All right, it's the Bouzy boy update. Here we go. He's writing things like you see above. Everybody who's donated to Nate gets what they deserve. Right. Okay, so Nate sent a cease and desist to Christopher Bouzy. Here's what it says. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the writing is small, so let me paraphrase it, okay? The first paragraph basically says, I'm the attorney who represents, Nate, the lawyer who owns this YouTube channel, and starting September 19th, we demand you retract the statements you've made in your tweets, and if you don't, that's going to result in legal action. The second paragraph says, starting on that date and continuing, you're falsely claiming that he's lied about his credentials, his professional experience, media attention, and other matters that affect his personal and professional reputation. You falsely stated that he was engaged in criminal conduct. You stated or implied he is engaged in criminal or fraudulent conduct. And in addition to demanding deletion of these statements, we're going to place you on clear notice of the truth concerning these matters, the most serious and harmful, and that you better admit that this is not the truth, basically. The third paragraph points out that Nate is a licensed attorney in New York and has been since 2016, and you've published tweets claiming he's not, and you keep repeating the tweets, but he is an attorney. Then the attorney writes, you've deleted the tweets, but instead of claiming you made an error, you published another tweet in which you admitted you were aware of the truth, that you made a false statement, that he was not only a lawyer, but willfully published the false claims anyway. And then there's a copy of the tweet, and it points out these claims are false and defamatory, and you must delete and retract them by October 3rd. Okay, that's how that ends. Then you go to number 2, where he claims that Nate engaged in misconduct as a law enforcement officer. He claims that Nate was never a prosecutor, that as a police officer, he planted evidence on suspects, he falsified evidence relating to criminal cases, that he's stealing money donated for legal funds in connection with this matter. By the way, in case you forgot, he claims Sumi stole funds also, which is not true. And then he goes on to say, your claim that he planted evidence was based on your understanding of a tongue-in-cheek comment made by Nate in December 12th of 2020. And I personally can tell you that the man does not understand tongue-in-cheek, because let's not forget, he claimed that Trevor Colt threatened to kill him because of a tongue-in-cheek comment that Trevor made. Okay, but I digress. Back to the cease and desist. He points out that no civilian complaint or accusation was ever lodged for any infractions, including mishandling evidence, in any connection with any arrest in his 10-year law enforcement career, during which time he was never written up for any kind of misconduct. Then it points out that all these tweets are being done on the account of Bot Sentinel or fake accounts to amplify and relate false and defamatory statements. And that includes the email sent by Bot Sentinel, a copy of which we've obtained, claiming that Nate violated YouTube policies by publishing harmful content targeting women and marginalizing communities. It's the same thing he did with me, where he contacted YouTube and claimed that I had copyright, and YouTube said, So basically, then at the bottom, it basically says, listen, every false and defamatory statement that you've made or Bot Sentinel made, whether you published it somewhere else or on Bot Sentinel, whatever, they all have to be retracted and deleted by October 3rd, and evidence of the same provided to the office by October 5th, or else, lawsuit. And the letter ends, by saying that you and Bot Sentinel and other people working with you, they're all going to be subject to legal action to vindicate Nate's reputation and his legal rights. Yeah. Okay, so what do you think Mr. Bouzy did with this? And let's not forget that Mr. Bouzy sent me a cease and desist. He sent Sumi a cease and desist, and was running around screaming to everybody, they're not complying. I sent them a cease and desist. Remember that? So the very first thing Mr. Bouzy did was say, hey guys, I'm going to upload the whole document tomorrow at 9 a.m. Okay, but nobody trusts you. That's why we're all looking at the one that Nate put up. Now you should know, per Nate, that the cease and desist letter was sent to the company's listed address and his home address, and he was complaining. Yes, Christopher Bouzy was complaining. But I love what Nate's follower said in the next tweet. At least he can't claim he didn't get it. Oh my God. All right. Then Mr. Bouzy put up a thing and said, I've gotten the cease and desist. And I'm just letting you know now that I'm going to deny it. I'm going to, just ignore it. Now, Mr. Bouzy likes to deflect. As you can see, he's writing, a lawyer thinks his client can sue him for defamation because of a bot sentinel rating. No, that's not why you're being sued. The whole world now knows why you're being sued. It has nothing to do with your bot sentinel rating. You're well aware of that. It's total deflection. I think people really aren't going to pay a whole lot of attention to Mr. Bouzy, especially now that it's come to light that he's evading the process servers. He's like, he won't come out of his house. Yeah, I'm here, but I'm not opening the door. And instead, he calls the police. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, I'm sure he's pushing forward with yet another report. But at this point, I got to be honest, I don't think YouTube is paying any attention now that they've seen the way he operates and they've seen all the tweets and they've seen the fact that he's avoiding service and he's got multiple lawsuits and stuff going on now. I don't think they're paying a lick of attention to anything that he's doing. And FYI, besides the fact that he's being sued by Jason Goodman, and besides the fact that more than likely he's not going to comply and Nate's going to end up suing him, and besides the fact that he's now been turned in for bankruptcy fraud for not putting down Bot Sentinel, apparently he's also now been exposed, allegedly, for donating to politicians while telling the IRS that he's broke. This person claims that's a federal offense and carries a potential prison sentence and fine. If that's true, I think Mr. Bouzy's got some big issues going on right now. He may want to put his attention where it belongs. Instead of constantly trying to insult Nate's attorney. Yeah, I think he's just going to keep churning stuff out and trying to get his stuff out there before he gets thrown offline. You know what I'm saying? Before he gets taken down. He's just going to go. And I have a feeling the donations are drying up and things are just not going well. All right, guys. Again, this is above my pay grade. It's legal stuff. Nah, I'm going to leave all that to Nate. But I want your comments. I want to know what you think about all the stories that you've heard. I want to know what you think about everything. And there's a lot in there. So don't forget to leave those comments below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future uploads. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter, Getter, Rumble. You can email me. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.